Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Where are you?
Maui.
And that's why you have that luxurious background?
This brown paneling, because otherwise the glare, if I turned around and gave you guys the pretty view, the glare was a little bit rough.
Okay.
I was just observing the beautiful glow you have this morning.
It has been pretty lovely.
Good for you.
Thank
Good
you.
for you.
I have spent some time in some windowless conference rooms, but it's the price you have to pay for more time in.
Once I was at a conference. It was at the Maui. No, it was not Maui. It was the Honolulu Hilton, right on the beach, right on the beach. The conference room was right on the beach, but it was a windowless conference room. We had to spend the whole day there. And I remember speaking to someone and saying, what genius came up with this as a form of torture?
Yeah, it's rude.
It's tough.
You
All
are
right.
missing the brilliant, cold, rainy day here in Sacramento.
That is what I've heard. It's pretty cold and rainy in a lot of places. That is not where I am.
Well, look at it. Look at the benefit, though. It will be a good hydro year.
Absolutely. There you go.
Good.
Well, that's very important.
Hydro refueling.
Well, maybe we'll give folks just another minute. I see people still joining, and then we can jump in.
Scott, your Hawaii story will be preserved and recorded for posterity.
Yes, well, I won't. Yes, I understand that.
Always, always.
I'm an open book. But it did come from my time at the State Department, and the person in charge was somebody, a very serious person at the State Department at the time.
Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? Good morning and welcome, everyone. We're really excited to have this meeting to get to this point, and really share the final proposal and the conversation. So I'm excited to hear from folks if there's any questions and comments. This morning we're gonna kind of we're gonna get some comments from some of the regulators, then we're gonna hear from some of the members of the launch committee. Then we'll kind of talk through what the final proposal is and what changed from the last draft. And then we would love to hear from all of you. And then we're going to take our vote, and then we'll talk about next steps. And so with that, we're gonna start with some comments from some of the regulators, and I've got a couple lined up, but Vice Chair Gunda would love to start with you.
Sorry, wrong headphones, juggling a lot of different things this morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the meeting today. And just want to just begin by saying a big thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude for the work accomplished by the launch committee and all the stakeholders, and for the meaningful engagement. And I want to take this opportunity in commenting not just for myself, but also on behalf of the 3 other commissioners from California who have been participating in this process: President Reynolds from CPUC, Commissioner Houck from CPUC, and Commissioner Andrew McAllister from the Energy Commission. It's really hard to believe, but it was only last summer that my colleagues and I across the West wrote a letter expressing our hope for an independent regional organization to oversee an expanded day-ahead market that includes California. Since then, it's amazing to watch how some of the brightest and most dedicated experts across diverse sectors in the West have come together to lay the foundations for this regional organization. The launch committee made astounding progress with step one, which gives more authority and independence to the Western energy market governing body and optimizes our diverse energy resources across the West with more independence to the governance over market functions. An approval of step two today would be an important step and a groundbreaking step that will ensure that the regional organization's ability to gain the largest possible footprint, optimize diverse energy resources, and enhance affordability and reliability across the West, which all of us agree are one of the most important things for all of us in the West. It has been wonderful working together on these shared goals with so many individuals across the West. Thanks to each and every single launch committee member that has worked on this, but a special thanks to the co-chairs, Kathleen Stacks and Pam Sporberg, for their extraordinary leadership over the last year. And my regulatory colleagues in California and the West. It has been a charge of faith and trust and camaraderie and bonding to bring our goals to fruition. And this is, to me, as I look back over the last 12 months, an extraordinary moment of success in just developing the necessary bond and collaboration and discussions to meet a common goal. So look forward to the rest of the meeting. And thanks again for the opportunity to be here. And thank you, Launch Committee, for the amazing work done and all stakeholders for your time and sweat over the last 12 months. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. Chair O'Connell.
Yeah, good morning. Coming to you from the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge. That was a appropriate image for what we're doing here today. So anyway, just regulators, we came together and signed a letter over a year ago, and just summary what the letter said was, please collaborate and please create a regional organization that can give us the potential to maximize customer benefits across the Western interconnection with regional markets. And the focus of the letter is a day-ahead market. As Commissioner Gunda just said, we've already seen success with step one, improving existing markets that are out there. Today, under consideration is step two, which is remarkable achievement. So, the launch committee, the stakeholders, you stepped up to the request in the letter, working together, again, had success for step one, and now voting on this foundational document that could really achieve the broad idea that was in our request. So just happy to come on the meeting today and say thank you. And then, of course, always thank you for what you've done over the past year and for what you're going to do next year, because I recognize as remarkable and monumentous an achievement that we're discussing in this meeting today. More work remains to be done, and just know that those of us that wrote that letter are appreciative of all the effort, and frankly, I'm amazed at the depth and breadth of the stakeholders who've come together, not just representing on the launch committee, but who participate in these meetings. That has really propelled things to lean into that whole idea of the letter. Let's maximize consumer benefits. So again, thank you, and happy to be here today.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. Commissioner Tani.
Thanks so much. Well, I won't repeat what my colleagues said. I'll simply support it. And I'll add, it has been very remarkable to see Western stakeholders select their own launch committee, ensure a diversity across the region and among sectors for the utilities, who typically and historically have really sort of run these processes to partner and in a broader landscape and stretch those muscles of collaboration. It's been really a privilege to participate in in the meetings and see how bridging, I think Chair O'Connell's metaphor is excellent, see the launch committee members and the stakeholders in the working groups really striving to bridge a breadth of perspectives that hasn't always been at the table when we've engaged in these sorts of regional efforts. And so I really want to recognize the launch committee's hard work to be inclusive. And I think that's resulting in a proposal that centers consumers and the opportunity for benefits in a different way that is exciting. And affordability and reliability is a central issue across the WEC. All of our commissions are grappling with significant pressure on our energy burden customers. And I know that pressure is shared among our public power colleagues. It's something that our consumer advocates are very concerned about. And it's so exciting to have a bright spot amidst a lot of price pressure in other ways, to have this bright spot of potential benefits taking steps forward. And I'm so appreciative of the enormous amount of work that's gone into building such a detailed proposal. And as Chair O'Connell said, the work that is yet to come over the coming year plus. At the end of the day, we have to be delivering for consumers this essential service at a price they can manage. And that is our charge. That is what underpins the Western economy. But it also is what delivers for our most vulnerable customers. And I so appreciate the launch committee digging in and figuring out how to deliver on that fiduciary duty that the regulators put out to the region and asked you to help us solve. So thank you.
Well, thank all three of you and the other regulators who have spent so much time with us working through these sometimes challenging and sometimes really revelatory conversations when we've been able to sort of break open something that we haven't been able, that it's been really hard. Your vision has been a real driver and a real source of energy for this work. And we are extremely grateful for the time that you have all put into this. I did also want to share, I got a note from Commissioner Thompson in Arizona yesterday. I know he ended up with a last minute conflict and couldn't make it this morning, but he did send a note of congratulations to the full launch committee and his commitment to continue to work and support this project through the next phases. And is hopeful for being able to address governance changes in the California legislature. So wanted to share those remarks from him as well.
Thank you. And Kathleen, can I just add to add more? I really want to extend a thank you to the CAISO staff who have been enormously professional and helpful in navigating a really complex conversation and really giving the launch committee, really being a resource to the launch committee and stepping back and letting the launch committee think about what the future might look like. And that has been critical to this being successful. And I want to recognize how challenging as an organization and for the actual individual humans who are so invested in delivering reliability to the region to do, and to their boards to do. Their boards have been incredibly supportive and thoughtful and engaged. And I just really appreciate that. I think it points to their dedication to that fiduciary duty was not an easy task or an easy ask. And I really appreciate their leadership and their time investment in a really busy year for them delivering EDM.
I wholeheartedly agree and echo those comments as well. Thank you for that. And with that, then I think maybe we can shift over to some comments from launch committee members. Thank you all, commissioners. I know you are all still also very busy, so we just again so grateful for the time and investment that you've put into this process. So I'm going to shift to some of our launch committee members. I know we've got a handful who have raised their hands, and of course, this is open to both voting and non-voting members of the launch committee. Just as a little bit of a reminder, and this will be reflective of what you see today. We have voting members of the launch committee, and we have the non-voting members who are representatives from states and federal power marketing agencies. And then we have a whole bunch of alternates. And so this is the time that I want to extend to all of those members to share their views and comments because they have all been critical to getting us where we have gotten today. And Jan, I see you with your hand up first, so let's start with you.
Thank you very much, and I do appreciate the earlier comments from the regulators, and I really enjoyed working with my colleagues on this. We are supporting the Pathway Step 2 as presented today. It is based on a successful evolution of the Western competitive market, as demonstrated by both the WEAM and the growing interest in EDAM. Independent regional organization will be established with the responsibility of developing ongoing market rules, which I think is a huge step forward. In addition, it'll explore the evolution of sort of an enhanced Western market, potentially offering additional transmission services for those who are interested in the future. The existing infrastructure, the technical infrastructure that runs the ISO market today will be utilized to basically, I think, cost save rather than build new infrastructure. And importantly, I think the resource choices of the states that are participating in this program going forward will be honored as they are today. There's been a significant role for the Board of State Regulators and additional stakeholder participation, which will underscore the importance of the public benefits associated with this market proposal. So in summary, the Pathways proposal will lead to lower ratepayer costs and enhanced reliability to the benefit of ratepayers throughout the region. And I really do, again, enjoyed the participation of with my colleagues here of putting this together. It was a great effort. So thank you.
Thanks, Jan. Jim.
Thank you, Kathleen. And I too would like to extend my appreciation to our two co-chairs for herding this group of cats. You know, a little over a year ago, we came together as a very diverse group with a lot of differing opinions on what independence meant. And through a lot of hard work, a lot of collaboration, a lot of consensus building, I think we've come up with a recommendation that meets the goals that were established by the regulators. I also want to thank the regulators for challenging the region to take a look at this. We've tried this many times over the years, and I think this is the first time where we've been able to come together organically and come up with a solution that I think meets the goals. And so on behalf of my organization, I would definitely be endorsing this proposal and looking forward to voting on it. Thank you again.
Thanks, Jim. Effie.
Hi, I'm Evie Call, General Counsel of CalCCA, and we enthusiastically support the Step 2 proposal. CalCCA came to this initiative as one of the newer kids on the block, and watching the broad coalition work together has been both humbling and inspiring, and it's definitely been type 2 fun. We joined the initiative for many of the same reasons that most of you did, and the reasons mentioned by the regulators, working toward greater affordability, reliability, and carbon reduction. And to promote those goals, we need to pull out all the stops. We're talking in California a lot about affordability right now, and it will be tackled in the next legislative session. And we see this as foundational to moving toward greater affordability. And like Jim said, we realize there are still differences of opinion here on how we advance toward those goals, but those differences will only make the framework more durable and resilient, and I think make us all stronger in working together. So thank you again to the regulators who led us down this path and the stakeholders who contributed all their leadership and energy to get this off the ground. And we look forward to seeing it through to implementation. Thanks.
Thanks, Evie. Michael.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Colvin with Environmental Defense Fund, and representing the public interest organizations. I think I want to add in on just the echoing of the gratitude for everybody on this call from the launch committee itself. I think it exemplifies if you work together, you go further than just trying to do something on your own. And I think this is just, exhibit A of that. I did want to emphasize one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet this morning, which is, in my opinion, the design that we're considering today contains the strongest public interest protections pretty much of any organized electricity market in the country. And I think that is something to really note, that we are trying to take the best from what we're seeing from around and not just replicate it, but leapfrog to the next evolution, the next step of it. And I think that is really important. And in my opinion, under this market framework, Californians and the rest of the West are going to be able to keep their energy bills low, and they're going to be able to ensure system reliability and accelerate the decarbonization of the grid. So I look forward to taking this vote and just wanted to express my gratitude again to everyone.
Thanks, Michael. Commissioner Dumit.
Thanks, Kathleen. And I'm not sure procedurally I would have an opportunity to speak when the time to support comes around, which I'm happy to do then. But I support this 100%, this effort. And I've said this before. It's been a privilege and an honor working with this group. I've been around state government a long time. And I've subcommittees and committees and work groups and task forces, and I've never seen a group work as hard, as diligently, as focused as this group has. I have total confidence going forward in the formation committee and the California legislation that the same work ethic will be applied. I adopt the comments of my regulatory colleagues and also the prior speakers, and just want to say that I support the effort and support this proposal 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you too. I don't know if you were able to hear our comments earlier, but we are so grateful for your leadership and commitment and engagement in this effort. So thank you. Brian.
Great. Good morning. Brian Turner with Advanced Energy United and a member of the launch committee. And I have to echo all the comments regarding the collaborative and constructive nature of this process, and kudos to our co-chairs who have been actually fantastic leaders. But not only want to thank my fellow launch committee members, but also the many commenters and subcommittee members that have been involved, including entities that are still assessing their options, but share the goal of making this the best governance structure possible. And all that input was really invaluable and appreciated. For our part at Advanced Energy United, I think what we're most pleased about, and I wanted to call out, is that this proposed governance structure recognizes the electric grid is evolving, and a greater diversity of resources and customers and load-serving entities and solution providers all have an essential interest in efficient markets and the affordability and reliability they bring. So we're very pleased that the proposal provides a seat at the table and a meaningful voice in governance and market rules for this variety of new voices. And one example near and dear to my heart is the specific voice provided for distributed energy resources, distributed energy resource sector. that mobilizes generation, storage, flexible load resources that are significant and growing in communities and driveways and rooftops and garages all across the region, and will increasingly play a critical role in affordability and reliability. So I think this structure that we are proposing, that we're going to vote on today, that I'm proud to vote on and support, recognizes that evolving nature of the grid and will really serve the region well as we build and develop a 21st century grid. So thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Crystal.
Hi, good morning. Crystal Dean with Western Area Power Administration. So just wanted to provide some comments of support. As many of you know, WAPA has been a participant in the Pathways Launch Committee as a non-voting member since its inception, back in 2023. And just want to express our gratitude for really the continued thoughtful and collaborative approach that the Launch Committee members have taken in really shaping the Step 2 proposal and really including that broad range of perspectives from across the sectors. So importantly, for WAPA and for the continuation of this initiative, many of you will remember and note that in recent weeks, our Sierra Nevada region announced that we'll begin final negotiations towards full participation in CAISO's extended day-ahead market. As well, our Desert Southwest region also recently decided to partner with Arizona G&T Cooperatives members, as well as multiple other public power customers in Arizona and Nevada to pursue a study that'll assess the benefits of EDAM for our customers in DSW's Walk Balancing Authority area. So really both of these efforts underscore WAPA's commitment to exploring new opportunities like those described in this Pathway Step 2 proposal. And we are really excited to see that these steps will help WAPA continue to make decisions that align with our market principles. Again, really considering those unique characteristics and needs of our regions while we prioritize reliability and ensure that participation optimizes value for our customers. So again, WAPA really appreciates the working alongside our customers and our peers. We recognize the importance of this collaboration across the Western Interconnection, and we are really pleased to see this initiative take another important step forward. And again, are very supportive of this proposal and really, again, appreciative to the full launch committee and all of the stakeholders who have helped shape it. So thanks for the opportunity to chime in. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Crystal. Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle Beck. I'm with the Utah Office of Consumer Services. We're the consumer advocate in Utah. And I know you've heard from a lot of us, but I wanted to make sure that you heard from each sector, including consumer advocates. Many of you have heard me say before that I started participating in Pathways defensively, which is kind of how consumer advocates, I think, participate in all regional activities. But over time, I working with this group, helped me to build confidence in the effort and really optimism about the outcome, as I saw a genuine focus on the public interest, which has been mentioned before, that I think our proposal really has the greatest public interest protections that we see in any regional proposals out there. When I hear Chair O'Connell talk about maximizing consumer benefits, well, you're definitely speaking the language of consumer advocates. So I also want to acknowledge there's a lot more work to do. There's work for next year. There are big issues important to many people that were properly not even in our scope yet. But this is consistent with the incremental approach that we've been taking here in the West, and it remains a very important milestone. I'm really pleased to have been part of this effort. Consumer advocates are also non-voting members, but I just wanted to give a brief statement of support for where we've come so far.
Thanks so much, Michelle. And Vijay, I may come back to you because we are doing the launch committee members for now, but we've got an opportunity for others.
My bad. I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries. Are there any other launch committee members that want to take a moment at this point? Spencer.
Hey, thanks, Kathleen. I am traveling cross country, so off video, but I wanted to chime in as an alternate for the IPPs and marketers, express NIPSI's appreciation for this forum and for the regulators helping to launch this. We were pleased to respond to the regulator letter last year and get involved in the launch committee. I want to thank the other folks on the launch committee who've been so involved and stakeholders for sticking with us in what's sometimes a sort of unwieldy, volunteer-driven process. So thank you for that. And finally, I wanted to add a comment that the step 2 proposal that will be voted on today, part of our thinking within the launch committee was truly to attract greater participation in a deeper level of services beyond even energy markets over the coming years. The possibility of alternative futures in the West with other forms of governance, I think, has been motivating and frankly helpful to focus our collective attention on building something here that we hope attracts as many people as possible. So thanks again, Kathleen, and really pleased to have worked on this work product.
Thank you, Spencer. Thank you for all the input and time and effort that you put into it as well. And safe travels. Lisa.
Thank you, Kathleen. Lisa Torman Hickey. I represent the Interwest Energy Alliance, and Interwest helps represent the independent power producer sector on the launch committee. Interwest works in the Intermountain and Southwest states. And so I wanted to take a moment just to express our full support for the proposal issued last week as well. We have seen how these conversations have increased widespread understanding of how regionalization of market resources can provide benefits across the West. And we look forward to deepening that collaboration and talking about additional next steps as we move incrementally forward towards the most diverse resource market across the widest footprint possible. I too really appreciate all of the collaboration and hard work of all the launch committee members and look forward to continuing the effort. We don't know yet how far we can go, and so I look forward to seeing what happens next year. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lisa. Heidi.
Then Heidi Rotz, Clean Energy Buyers Association, alternate for the C&I sector. I know so much has already been said, but I just feel need to chime in. Every time I talk to my membership, they're so excited the focus this initiative has put on customer benefits. I just really want to make sure folks hear that. And also during this whole process, I've been really pleased with the response to customer input and how our needs have been balanced. So thank you everyone so much for your work.
Thanks, Heidi. I think as the other C&I customer representative, I think the one thing I would add is that I have seen a remarkable increase in the number of companies that are actively engaged and paying attention and wanting to learn. And so I think we're seeing a sector that's getting very excited about the opportunities to participate. So I think that's if I had to add one thing, I think what I see with this proposal is more ways for people to have meaningful engagement and more transparency in a really important and critical process that is fundamentally going to be successful because we're building trust. And so that I'm excited to see that really come to fruition through this proposal and through all the work that this group has done. Any other launch committee members want to chime in here?
Kathleen, I might take a minute just to say thank you for all of your hard work and dedication. Along with our 26 members of the launch committee, I think one of the most remarkable pieces of this effort has been just the amount of work that people have put into this final proposal. And it does truly reflect, as the comments have shown thus far, a lot of consensus building across the West, a lot of input from sectors who are new to the governance process, who are just emerging and bringing their new voices into this process. But thank you, Kathleen, for being the person who's really brought all of those diverse perspectives together and really worked to find the consensus among the diverse opinions. I don't think we would have gotten here without you. So really thank you for being our fearless leader and the many hours that you're putting into this, including giving up 2 hours of your time in Hawaii. Thank
Well,
you for your work and the work of all of the launch committee members.
thank you, Pam. And I was going to say similar remarks, so I will not repeat, but this has truly been one of the most rewarding experiences of my entire life. And I've considered all of the launch committee a good set of friends, maybe even family at this point. We have spent enough time together. And truly, Pam, I couldn't have done this without you. You've helped me understand what we're doing and translate these sometimes very wonky and technical topics into something that we can actually peel apart and work on again from a meaningful stakeholder way. So thank you. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and jump in, do a little bit of an overview of the step 2 proposal. Pam's going to walk us through kind of the big picture, and then I will probably rip through some of these slides pretty quickly of what has changed since the draft proposal, because really we want to hear from stakeholders today and make sure we've got plenty of time for that. So Pam, I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, Kathleen. From our first day, the launch committee mission has reflected the call that are from the regulator letter from last summer. And as our regulator colleagues summarized this a lot in their remarks, I will not go into significant detail here, but our mission has always been to really put customer value first through maximizing the value of the markets through the largest footprint possible that includes California, and preserve the value that the Western Energy Imbalance market has built today. It's a market that has produced over $6 billion of benefits and covers 80% of the Western interconnection. And as we look to add additional features to that market, including the extended day ahead market, the goal of the launch committee has always been to ensure that the governance structure of that market is not a barrier to the continued evolution and participation in that market. It's always been a voluntary proposition to support the evolution of additional services up to and including potential RTO services as the region makes incremental progress towards that goal in the future. Our evaluation criteria have reflected this mission to maximize net benefits and to develop a governance structure that is fully independent of any single state or participant, and that represents an equitable representation among all Western stakeholders across the market footprint. We have also looked to preserve the value that we have built upon. I appreciated Jan's remarks around the preservation of value and the reduction of costs to customers by not duplicating structures that are already in place, as well as to make sure that this is a market that builds on optionality. We recognize that market participants are going to progress along their path at their own pace, and that while many market participants are comfortable with the energy imbalance market, and we still see growth in the energy imbalance market, other market participants are willing to take additional steps along the market evolution pathway, including the extended day ahead market participation. Our framework allows that individual choice and optionality in the progression towards more organized and evolved markets. But finally, and most important, and I think these remarks have come through with many members of our launch committee, is the respect for state authority to continue to set the leadership and vision around procurement, environmental responsibility, and reliability. States are in the driver's seat for the public interest, and by incorporating the public interest protections into our final proposal, we continue to put the respect for state authority and the ability for state priorities to be reflected in the market without having any state's policies dominate or impact other state policies as a fundamental goal for the overall framework that we've put forward here today. Next slide, please. For those of you who have been on our journey, we have continued to make progress on our stepwise approach. The step one proposal that elevated the Western Energy Market Governing Body, and now even renamed the Western Energy Market Governing Body, to the primary authority model, was the first step that we took last spring. And that step has been fully approved by the CAISO board and the Western Energy Market Governing Body to date. And here we are with step two, with our final proposal that would transfer governance of the existing energy markets to a new regional organization and establish sole authority over the tariff rules for that new organization. But it's important to remember that this is another step on the long-term evolution and progress that we're making towards energy markets, and building again on that incremental opportunity that we see to make progress for Western market institutions. And we still have an obligation to continue to evaluate under step three, the expansion and scope of the regional functions and services that are offered by the regional organization, and include a commitment of that organization to continue to make progress on independence and progress on the diversity of services that will be offered by that organization. Next slide. A reminder that today our focus for this new regional organization is on energy markets. And one of the key successes of unlocking the challenges facing this governance solution has been to continue to maintain that focus on the energy markets that include the Western Energy Imbalance Market as a real-time market, and the extended day-ahead market as that day-ahead market. The other services that are offered by the California ISO to California parties, including transmission system control and operations, transmission planning, the balancing authority function, and resource adequacy and reliability coordinator services that are offered to many Western market participants, will remain under the current governance structure as it stands today. The focus on energy markets has allowed the parties to come together and to find the consensus needed to move forward with the step two proposal that we offer today. Next slide, please. So this graphic represents the regional organization elements of our proposal, beginning with that fully independent board under a new regional organization that will have sole authority over the tariff, including Section 205 filing rights, over provisions related to the Western Energy Imbalance Market and the extended day-ahead market. I won't go into the details too much here, because I will turn it over to Kathleen to walk through the changes between our draft proposal and our final proposal, but just noting that these are the core elements between the tariff, the staffing, several organizational elements, and the continued emphasis on the stakeholder process and recognizing and centering on the public interest that make up the core of our proposal, and the focus of our path forward. And with that, I'll turn it to Kathleen to walk through the changes between our and our final proposal.
Thanks, Pam. And I'm not going to read all of the things on these slides, but since we'll make the slides available, but I did want to just highlight a handful of areas where we did make some changes from the draft to the final proposal. So if you recall, in the draft proposal, we had some areas where we still weren't quite sure exactly where we wanted to land, and so we're soliciting some pretty specific stakeholder feedback on some of those areas, and some of those places were things that we were able to agree on a recommendation, and some of those areas are components that the launch committee decided they need more work. And that additional work will be some of what the formation committee will be focusing on. We'll talk a little bit about the formation committee later in this presentation. But part of that means that there will be additional opportunity, and we saw value in additional stakeholder input. So for those areas that we needed to keep working, we tried to highlight those pieces as well. So one of the things that I think was really important for this final proposal was to incorporate the stakeholder feedback that we received from on the draft proposal directly into the document, so that stakeholders could see how the launch committee considered that feedback and how and whether it was incorporated into the final recommendation. So you'll see that throughout. We also wanted to highlight that the CAISO is not a market participant. This was, I think we saw some confusion around this, but we were very intentional in the way that we were framing the CAISO's role throughout this proposal, to make sure that its role as a market operator was called out very specifically. Its role as a balancing authority was called out very specifically, and then to ensure that there's some understanding that the CAISO is not a market participant, and so they play a different role in that context as well. We also made this adjustment with the way we referenced staff, because we do not yet know exactly what staff we're going to start with at the regional organization and how that will evolve. Especially because there's going to be so much that the new RO is going to have to work with the CAISO to implement in the early stages. So we didn't want to get overly prescriptive at this point. This is something that's going to have to get established as we continue to move forward. And really ultimately highlighting that what we are proposing here is a cultural shift. And stakeholders are going to have to show up and be patient and provide feedback as we go, because this is going to be different from processes that the CAISO has run. It's going to be different than processes that other entities have run that this group of stakeholders has participated in as well. And so we're going to be seeing a different structure and setup as we get the RO off the ground. Next slide, please. Some of the specific areas in the RO scope and function, we really decided to pull out the tasks that we're going to be, the issues that we're going to be evaluating in a future feasibility analysis. One of the parts of the recommendation was for the RO to initiate a feasibility analysis for potential evolution in the future. And so we called out many of the issues that the launch committee recommends that feasibility analysis include. We did a bit of clarification on some of the language around corporate protections, and how the RO would be providing input into the CAISO's management hires. The CAISO, as reflected in a letter from the CAISO on the draft proposal, we reflected their intent to explore increased separation between the balancing authority and market operator functions. I think the other thing worth highlighting is the decisional classification around when we have initiatives trying to determine whether or not this is a RO sole authority or a CAISO sole authority. That evaluation got moved very specifically to the stakeholder process, where there will be opportunities for stakeholder input as we evaluate those changes. Next slide, please. In the governance section, again, we added quite a bit of detail to the formation committee role and tasks that group will be undertaking. We clarified the sectors and that the sectors for the stakeholder process would be the same sectors represented in the nominating committee for the new board. We spent a little bit of time addressing the need for the WEM governing body members to engage as we are developing the new RO board. And we provided additional information about the public policy committee and sort of specifically what role that group will play for the RO board in ensuring that we get input from states and local authorities and federal authorities as we are bringing initiatives into the stakeholder process to evaluate whether or not there are any potential adverse impacts to the policies of those entities before we get started, and provide the opportunity to evaluate those as we go. Next slide, please. On the public interest section, we were recommending that we move the Bosser funding to become tariff funded, with the exception of not having the POUs and non-jurisdictional entities contribute to that funding. So this will be, so essentially the same entities that fund it today will continue to fund it. It'll just be structured through the tariff. We added some additional information and clarification around the role of the Department of Market Monitoring, including the access to data and the requirements related to FERC Order 719. And then we added an expanded market expert role to include the evaluation to ensure that the market is operating with public interest principles and the protection of retail customers. Next slide, please. In the stakeholder section, we had an additional workshop and had the opportunity for additional stakeholder input on the sectors and the sector seats. And so again, additional information clarifying the role of the stakeholder representative committee, including or identifying a chair and a vice chair to help on the administrative function for the SRC. We added several seats in sectors for EIM entities, EDM entities, consumer advocates, public interest organizations, and large C&I customers. We made some clarification around who is actually going to be able to participate in the activities that the SRC runs, and that will be and to participate in a sector, and to clarify that sector participants must have an active interest in the EIM or EDM footprint for participation. Everybody will have the ability to vote, but those votes won't get counted against any sort of tabulation and potential significant opposition threshold if you're not part of if you don't have an active interest and are not an actual sector participant. We changed some of the names of the sectors, and we clarified roles for entities participating through a formal organization and trade associations. So really trying here to ensure that people can see where they fit into this stakeholder process. We got quite a bit of feedback that people weren't, for some entities, people weren't quite sure where they would be able to plug in. And so we tried to make sure that we added some additional guidance to that end in this final proposal. Next slide, please. We also added, we're going to have to continue to work with the CAISO to figure out exactly which sector that they fit into. Again, as a non-market participant and in their role as a balancing authority, there's some different ways that the CAISO would show up and engage. And so trying to figure out exactly what is the best fit in this structure that we've proposed is something that we will still continue that we will continue to work on over the coming year. We also have included an opportunity for reevaluation of this process, knowing that, again, as I mentioned before, this is going to take some cultural shift. And so we want to make sure that we're kind of checking in on things as we're moving forward and making sure that they're operating in the way that to achieve the goals that we have set out, where we have transparency and access and that we're able to reach consensus. Next slide, please. And then we ended up with some longer conversations about the remand process. And I think given the amount of input that we got and work that we got from our stakeholder work group, which included several members that are not on the launch committee, we felt like we didn't quite get it right. And so we want to invite the members of that stakeholder work group to continue to engage with us moving forward to figure out exactly how we can, what a remand process should look like, recognizing that one of the primary goals of having a remand process was to ensure that we are putting enough emphasis on the voting process and the votes that people are the votes that people will participate in, so that it really truly is providing meaningful input into the decisions and recommendations that are going in front of the RO board. And then one of the other areas I think of significance was having more collaboration between the RO and the market operator staff as the roadmap is getting developed to ensure that we're evaluating the resources of both organizations as the initiatives are getting prioritized and planned for from a budget standpoint and from a resource and technology and all of the various inputs that go into making these stakeholder initiatives successful. Next slide, please. So with that, that's a highlight of the changes that we've made through this from the draft proposal to the current final proposal. And at this point, we'd love to open it up and hear from some stakeholders. I've heard from a handful of already who've expressed some interest in providing comments. And so if hopefully you know who you are, you can raise your hand and I can call on you in the order that you're there. But I also do have a list at this point and happy to walk through that as well. And so with that, Frank, we can start with you. And please do, sorry, before you jump in, please do just mention your affiliation for the attendees.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much. My name is Frank Harris. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all today. I'm Manager of Energy Regulatory Policy with the California Municipal Utilities Association. CMUA is a statewide association of public agencies. We serve water and energy needs in California. Our water members take retail electric service from all forms of load-serving entities, including the IOUs, CCAs, and the public power entities. And our electric members serve approximately 25% of California energy usage, or about 16,000 megawatts of peak load. CMUA members have been represented by Randy Howard of NCPA and Jim Shetler of Bank, and have been involved in the Pathways Initiative as part of the launch committee. We both view the Step 1 proposal and the Step 2 proposal that's before you today as positive progress that can create real independent governance of the expanded day-ahead market and the Western Energy Imbalance market, and possible future services that could come up. CMUA supports the underlying goals of this, as have been articulated by the 5 states that kicked off this Pathways process in July of 2023, essentially highlighting a few to develop a platform for independent governance of markets, inclusive of California, and to remain respectful of individual state energy policies and remaining focused on maximizing consumer benefits. We see that as really key. CMUA supports the regional organization formation that has been outlined in option 2 as a logical first step, while other more ambitious models are assessed. The stakeholder process that was as articulated in the proposal with the establishment of a non-decisional stakeholder representative committee and built-in customer focus of several of the elements of the proposal. In the end, it's the consumer benefit that, as I mentioned, must be the overriding goal of any market proposal. That is key to us. CMUA supports the Step 2 recommendation because it holds the promise of achieving the widest and most diverse footprint possible, which leads to maximizing consumer benefit. For these reasons, CMUA urges the launch committee to approve the Step 2 proposal today. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much, Frank. Rachel.
Hi, Kathleen. Thank you. I am Rachel Dibble, the Vice President of Power Bulk Marketing at Bonneville Power Administration. First, thank you for the opportunity to comment on behalf of Bonneville. I want to acknowledge the significant amount of work that the Phase 2 proposal represents by the members of the launch committee as well as the Phase 2 work group. So thank you to everyone who has participated and really put so much work into this proposal. We do appreciate the final proposal It clearly reflects attention to the formal comments that Bonneville has submitted in this process, as well as the contributions of Bonneville staff who participated in several Phase 2 work groups. Bonneville staff participants have noted the professionalism and the expertise of the colleagues that they have worked with in this process. So thank you for that, and we appreciate it. With that said, I do want to be clear that Bonneville is looking for the Pathways proposal to result in fully independent market governance, administration, and operations. So while we recognize that success may come incrementally, we do hold to our vision for what an independent market looks like. To that point, we applaud the progress toward the independent board oversight, and we recognize the significant improvements in the Step 2 proposal for stakeholder engagement. However, there are still 3 areas of continued dependence on CAISO that are concerning for us in the final proposal. First, the market will remain under a single integrated tariff that is shared with CAISO. Second, the market operations and supporting staff and management functions remain under the authority of the CAISO board. And third, the CAISO would remain the counterparty in contracts with market participants. So Bonneville is pleased to have contributed to the improvements reflected in this final proposal, and we hope to see the Pathways Initiative and regional organization continue to pursue increased independence in these areas to create a fully independent market for those who choose to join. So thank you for the opportunity to both participate in this process and to comment in this session.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you to the BPA staff who did participate. It was really, really valuable input, and really appreciate the time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Vijay.
Yes, hello. Vijay Satyal, Deputy Director of Markets and Transmission. And my apologies for missing the instructions at the beginning. I don't want to repeat what everybody may have said, but focusing on the changes from the last proposal and what Kathleen, you touched upon. First of all, I want to also commend the PIO team that has been engaged with you all. And for full disclosure, WRA has partnered with NRDC and Renewable Northwest to reinvest in our consultant, Elaine Ginocchio, to continue to work in the work next year. So a couple of things I really want to commend that this new proposal has done. And Elaine will be our voting rep for your final vote. The clarification of the CalISO role is very important. This came up during the WEEP-CREPC-WIRA meetings. Commissioner Myers and some others had brought this up in their questions in the Q&A. I think it's very valuable to clarify the role of CalISO and also them being a market operator and in that capacity, what their role is. I urge the launch committee, after the hopeful unanimous approval of this proposal, to exercise ideas or talking points for communication of some of these changes that are significant in transparency and showing division of reduction of conflict of interest. The 2 other comments I want to make is we are grateful for the additional seats being given for the PIO consumer advocates and the large CNI sector. Though we don't serve load, we do help influence and can help set up a good market structure. So we really appreciate that. And the last comment I want to make is there was some confusion, and I appreciate the clarity around the collaboration of the RO staff with CalISO staff, and also that CalISO staff is not going to drive the, lack of better words, the engine of operations. And so with that, I just want to commend Kathleen, you and Pam, and also hope the formation committee can move forward really well. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Kelsey.
Hi, thank you. Yes, my name is Kelsey Gomani with the Natural Resources Defense Council. NRDC has been a really long-time supporter of integrating the Western grid, and this proposal creates a real opportunity to make that happen with diverse Western representation at the helm of electricity market services. We're truly impressed with the work of the launch committee to get us where we are today with the quality of the proposal, and we're really grateful for the several components included that formally protect the public interest. So with an eye toward a cleaner, more cost-effective energy future for the Western region, NRDC is really excited to support this proposal and all the next steps to get it up and running.
Thanks, Kelsey. Mason.
Thanks.
My name is Mason Baker. I am the CEO of Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems, otherwise known as UAMPS. We appreciate the opportunity to comment in support of the Pathways Initiative. UAMPS has long been in favor of market evolution in the West, and as a not-for-profit utility, our shareholders are our member ratepayers. Our objective is to assure that we provide cost-effective and reliable wholesale power to our shareholders/ratepayers. We expect the market changes being discussed most notably in the way of EDAM will provide for the most cost-effective wholesale power supply in the future. With that said, as a Utah utility, we have to recognize the difference in state policy objectives in the West related to decarbonizing the Western grid. We believe the Pathway Initiative allows for the best structure to avoid disputes on differing state policy objectives while providing for the most cost-effective wholesale power supply options through the benefits of EDAM in particular. UAMPS would also like to commend the Pathways Initiative on the transparent nature it has conducted the stakeholder process. Having such transparency is critical in our view in building the necessary trust to avoid concerns related to governance that have plagued market expansion in the past. We face many challenges in the coming years, and the Pathway Initiative is the needed type of transparent collaboration that will be necessary for us to navigate this energy transition while best minimizing the cost to the ratepayer. And with that, thank you again for the chance to comment and support. Have a good Friday.
Thanks so much, Mason. Really appreciate it. Meg.
Good afternoon. My name is Meg McNall, and I'm with the law firm of Thompson Coburn. I represent the cities of Anaheim, Azusa, Banning, Colton, Pasadena, and Riverside, California. We call ourselves the Six Cities Group. On behalf of the six cities, we wanted to extend our appreciation to the launch committee for all of the effort that's gone into developing the Step 2 final proposal, and note the hard work of regulators and stakeholders throughout the West as well. We think that on balance, the final proposal reflects a sound and reasonable framework for moving forward with further regionalization efforts, and wanted to acknowledge the very careful balancing of the diverse stakeholder interests throughout the West that we've seen in comments and discussions throughout the Pathways process. As we continue to move forward, we encourage continued communication, coordination, and transparency with and among stakeholders, so that market participants are aware of key developments and have opportunities to provide input on critical topics of interest, again, as we move forward with implementation. We note, for example, the final proposal's discussion of how the CAISO's balancing authority functions will be differentiated from its market operator roles. We appreciate the final proposal's acknowledgement of some of the concerns around this issue for certain stakeholders, including the group I represent. And so we wanted to support in particular the formation of a BA task force or advisory committee to address CAISO BA specific concerns, and we're looking forward to continued discussion on that topic. We also wanted to note and express our appreciation for the very detailed and complete discussion of financial risks, liabilities, and corporate protections that we saw in the Step 2 final proposal. So on balance, we support continued regionalization efforts based on the framework of the final proposal, and again, reiterate our thanks to the launch committee, regulators, and stakeholders for all of the effort that's gone into getting us here. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg, and thank you for your contributions and time, especially into the stakeholder process work group. It was a big lift, and we really appreciate your efforts.
We're happy to help.
Nikki.
Hi, good morning, Kathleen and launch committee members. My name is Nikki Imam with San Diego Gas and Electric. SDG&E would like to express its appreciation and congratulations to the launch committee for the work that has been accomplished thus far. And we would like to offer our support for Step 2 of the Pathways Initiative. The final proposal provides a well-reasoned incremental approach that will create more opportunities for greater collaboration and efficiency across the larger Western region, all while maximizing consumer benefits. We look forward to continuing this important work to support an expanded footprint of clean, safe, and reliable energy with our partners in the region. Thank you very much for the opportunity to provide our comments and support of Step 2 and for all the collaborative work on this effort.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Dave.
Hi, good morning. Dave Zaverick speaking on behalf of Arizona Electric Power Cooperative, or alternatively known as Arizona G&T Cooperative. I'll be very brief. Just wanted to say that we appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this effort. We're very supportive of Step 2 and the final proposal. We really see this as a meaningful step towards independent governance, and we're optimistic that the legislation that's necessary to implement Step 2 will be passed in 2025. Very much appreciate the opportunity to comment. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dave. Barner.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to comment today. My name is Varner Seaman. I'm representing Pattern Energy. We're speaking today in supportive of the Step 2 proposal. Pattern Energy develops high-quality renewable energy and transmission projects, including the SunZia transmission line, which is under construction today in New Mexico and Arizona. We appreciate the work of the launch committee and those that we encourage to engage and spend quite a bit more time maybe than we anticipated on the front end. For those of you, we really owe you one. This independent governance structure enables and enhances the benefits of connecting faraway renewable resources with population centers in Phoenix, Las Vegas, California. This will enable Pattern and other companies like us to continue to develop renewable energy projects and transmission projects into the future to connect strong resources like occur in places like New Mexico. And we really look forward to the conversations that are going to occur in this new independent governing body that are going to move us forward on a path towards a more coordinated market and transmission services that haven't been viable up to this point. So thanks, everyone. And again, thanks to the launch committee for your tireless work on this effort.
Thank you, Varner. Colin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Colin Smith, Regulatory Affairs Manager at LEAP. We're a demand response aggregator who operates in wholesale markets across the U.S. I want to echo what a number of other stakeholders have said regarding the significant amount of work and consideration that went into the process, both to develop this Step 2 proposal and the Step 2 proposal itself, which we think does a great job representing different sectoral interests and setting up this future regional organization for success. I'd like to echo specifically Brian Turner's comments about the inclusion of DER companies and technologies as a sector in the Stakeholder Representatives Committee, with the increasing role that these types of technologies are playing in the operation of wholesale markets across the country. We think it's critical that they be given a seat at the table alongside other similarly situated market participants in the Western market that is established. I'm also happy that there will be opportunities to revisit the makeup of the SRC at implementation and 2 years down the line built into the Step 2 proposal. I'll note that with the recent changes to the number of seats in different sectors on the Stakeholder Representatives Committee, the DER sector is currently the only sector that only has 1 seat. Because of the way that the SRC is structured and the stakeholder process is structured, I don't expect that this will significantly impact the ability for DER companies to make their voices heard in the stakeholder process. However, I think it's valuable to pay attention as we get further along into the process of developing this stakeholder process with the RO to understand whether DER companies truly do vote as a monolith, as the sort of current structure assumes, or if there is value in creating more seats in that sector going forward to represent the diverse views of this sector the same way that has been done for other sectors on the SRC. So thank you again to everyone for all your work on this, and we're excited to continue the work moving forward.
Thanks, Colin.
Hey,
And I think, yeah, Nate.
Can I jump in? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Sorry, having some technical issues here, but I just want to comment on behalf of Amazon Web Services just to say congratulations to the committee of all the tremendous work put in here. It's a very exciting step forward as a customer. of a lot of different utilities across the West. This is, I think, an exciting development that can help create a lot of benefits, a lot of innovation to help large customers like us and others, and even the folks that we serve as we're really looking to grow not only our data center footprint, but our vehicles and our buildings, and just respond to all the customers that we have. So this is an exciting step forward, and just wanted to say congrats to everybody involved.
Thanks, Nate. Any other stakeholder questions, comments, reactions? All right, great. Well, with that, then I think we are ready to move to a vote. And before we go through our roll call, I did just want to also acknowledge all of the work and support and time that Sarah Davis has put into this project. Sarah has been with our little group here for about a year and has been absolutely critical to keeping things organized and getting things going, and just putting in a ton of time and work, and taking lots of late night phone calls from me. So we are collectively so grateful and successful because of you, Sarah. So thank you for everything that you have done for this to get this final proposal over the finish line. And with that, we are going to we'll do a roll call. And again, this is going to be for our voting members of the launch committee. And I think I only have one person who has indicated a proxy. So when we get to that one, we'll call it out. I'm just going to go down the list of our roster, and we'll just go it that way. So we'll start with the California investor-owned utility transmission owners. And I'm going to call each of your names. And if you want to say yay or nay, or if you abstain, we can do it that way. And we'll start with Scott Renzel from Pacific Gas and Electric.
Yay, it's full support.
Yeah. Jeff Nelson from Southern California Edison.
A very strong support. Yes.
Thank you, Jeff. Next sector, our EIM entities. We'll start with Arizona Public Service, and I think we've got Brittany Morgan on in Omaya's place.
Yeah, can you hear me, Kathleen?
I can. Thanks, Brittany.
Great, thank you. APS would like to explain our vote. APS believes that the Step 2 proposal does not achieve independent governance, which was the ask of the regulators more than a year ago. Under Step 2, the CAISO remains as the market operator, which perpetuates existing inequities between market and state participants. What Step 2 does do is incrementally improve the independence of the existing governance process. It is our hope that this incremental improvement may eventually lead to a subsequent proposal scope that defines a trajectory to reach full governance independence. For these reasons, APS votes to abstain from this vote on Step 2. Thank you.
Thanks, Brittany. David Rubin from NV Energy.
Yay.
Thank you, David. Kirstine Rock from Pacificorp.
Strongly supportive, yes.
Thank you, Kirstine. Pam Sporborg from Portland General.
Portland General votes yes with very strong support.
All right, great. Next sector, our public power and co-ops. We'll start with Josh Walter from Seattle City Light.
Support, enthusiastic support.
Thank you, Josh. Connor Wrighton from PNGC Power.
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen. We support.
Thanks, Connor. Jim Shetler from the Balancing Authority of Northern California.
Absolutely support strongly, yes.
Thank you, Jim. Randy Howard from Northern California Power Agency.
Yes, I echo strong support.
Thanks, Randy. Our next sector is the independent power producers and their trade associations. Start with Scott Miller from Western Power Trading Forum.
An enthusiastic yay.
Thank you, Scott. Jan Smutney Jones from the Independent Energy Producers Association.
Strong aye.
Thank you, Jan. And Lisa Torman Hickey from Interwest Energy Alliance.
Interwest is very much in favor. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lisa. The large commercial industrial customers and their trade associations, that would be me, Kathleen Stacks from Western Freedom, and I also enthusiastically support this proposal. Next sector is the technology providers and their trade associations. Brian Turner from Advanced Energy United.
A big fat yay. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Our labor representative, Mark Joseph, representing the Coalition of California Utility Employees and the State Association of Electrical Workers.
The IBW enthusiastically supports this proposal.
Thanks, Mark. And last but not least, our public interest organizations. Michael Colvin from the Environmental Defense Fund.
EDF enthusiastically supports.
Thanks, Michael. Elaine Ginocchio from Western Resource Advocates.
Very pleased to strongly support.
Thanks, Elaine. And Ben Otto from the Northwest Energy Coalition.
Because the proposal creates a Western entity staffed by Western people, we strongly support this proposal as the best option for all of us.
Thank you, Ben. And apparently I skipped over one of our most important sectors and people. Sorry, Evie. Our non-utility load serving entities and their trade associations. Evie Call from Cal CCA.
Yes.
I'm dealing with just one screen and my phone, and so I don't have all my things here in the hotel room, so I apologize. So with that, it sounds like we have full support with one abstention. And I just want to acknowledge too that we've had amazing participation from all of these voting members, but also the alternates who have shown up and put in a zillion hours, and our non-voting members, some of whom you heard from earlier. So thank you all for all of the work that you have put into this as well. Jim.
Maybe I missed it. Was there a proxy vote?
That was for APS.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right, with that, congratulations, everyone. And we wanted to talk a little bit about, share some of the next steps for the launch committee and the formation committee, so we can jump into that as well. So first off, you saw in the proposal that we have created a formation committee, or will be creating a formation committee that is going to be really charged with implementation of this proposal. The formation committee is a subcommittee of the launch committee. It is not a decision-making body. This is a group, sort of a subgroup of up to 10 members of the launch committee that is going to be really just working to implement some of these recommendations. If there are any issues that need some kind of decision or recommendation, that will come back to the launch committee, and we will continue to essentially operate the same way we've been doing. We anticipate that we're going to have additional opportunities for stakeholder engagement, both potentially through written comments and work groups or workshops. So once the formation committee gets pulled together, we will announce that to the public. We will identify what those public engagement opportunities are and the sort of sequence of meetings as early as possible so that people have notice and the opportunity to engage. We're really sort of bucketing this formation committee work into three kind of segments. The first piece will be the preparation activities that will happen sort of over the course of next year, and simultaneous to the legislative session in California. And those are some of the really kind of the preparation type efforts, drafting documents. Then we'll have another segment of work that is really implementation after California legislation is passed and signed, but before we have an RO board in place. And then that third bucket will really be the implementation agreement activities after the RO board is stood up. And so that's kind of the chunks of work that we have laid out. There's a pretty detailed list of tasks and issues within the proposal. Other worth noting, we will be soliciting liaisons from the WEM governing body and the CAISO Board of Governors, just so long as the number of folks don't exceed the quorum. And we will be soliciting input and engagement from a BOSSer member or a state regulator representative once they basically on their recommendation. Next slide, please. Wanted to touch briefly on the legislation that we are anticipating for 2025. Just as a reminder, the launch committee is not engaging in any sort of lobbying or advocacy efforts in the legislative process, but there are several members of the launch committee that are from California and will be engaging on behalf of their own organizations. This includes IBEW, who has announced that they are intending to sponsor a bill. And Mark, I don't know if you want to jump in, but just at a high level, the legislation is going to be designed to authorize the CAISO and the California investor-owned utilities to participate in energy markets that are managed by the new independent regional organization rather than the CAISO. But it does not control the RO formation or participation by other entities. So again, the new RO will be an independent entity. This legislation will be designed to enable California to participate in the energy markets that are governed by that new independent entity. Mark, did you want to add anything?
Thanks, Kathleen. I think you've given a good summary. All I would add is that the overall design of the bill, which we're still working on, is really to implement the Pathways proposal. Lots of people are very anxious to see language. I could say at this point, I fully expect that when the bill goes into print, there will not be a lot of surprises because it will be entirely structured around authorizing implementation of this step 2 proposal.
Thanks, Mark. Randy.
Yeah, I'll just add for those that don't know, many of the publicly owned utilities in California, some of the largest, do not need this legislation to participate in the RO, and they will be able to proceed even without the legislation. But there are a number of POUs that are within the CAISO, and they would need this legislation to do that. But the bigger ones like Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, SMUD, Imperial Irrigation District, they do not need the legislation. They're capable of moving forward today.
Thanks, Randy. And just from a timing standpoint, the legislature actually convenes real quick on December 2nd and then generally goes home for the rest of the month, and then we'll come back to get to work in January. February 21st is the last day for bills to be introduced, and they must be passed by September 12th. So we've got a nice long legislative session to contend with for next year. Next slide, please. As I mentioned before, we anticipate that we'll continue to have lots of stakeholder engagement opportunities, both through regularly scheduled meetings, as well as public comments and potential workshops and work groups, depending on what the issues are. So we will communicate those opportunities as soon as we figure them out. You can always reach us via our email address. We will continue to post information and documents on the website so that people can see the meeting recordings and the slide decks and those kinds of documents. And I think that's I think that's what we've got for you all this morning. So thank you again for all the support, for all the time and comments and input that you have put into this. It's really, we're just so excited to have this phase of work complete and wrapped up. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kathleen and Pam and Sarah.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Have a happy
thank you, team.
Thanksgiving.
Great job. Great job, team.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Launch Committee. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks,
Happy
everyone.
holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Happy holidays.